So I guess today I'm representing Northeast Pharma, and Northeast Pharma developed out of First Pharma. And First Pharma probably has a longevity of about 5 years, which I guess was a self-help group of leaders in the pharma industry or connected industries, really to, I guess, understand what was happening in the Northeast pharma sector, try and address common problems and be a self-help group. And I guess First for Pharma has now transformed into Northeast Pharma, which is a group set up to represent the pharma-facing businesses and connected industries within the northeast of England. And I guess the whole focus of that is to put Northeast Pharma on the map, illustrate that it's a good place to do business, particularly pharmaceutical business in, and can we promote growth in this sector in the northeast of England. So just I will move to my presentation. And I hope everybody can see that. So this really looks at how could the northeast of England play a part in solving some critical NHS supply chain issues, a number of which were amplified during the recent and current COVID crisis. So looking at sort of the need for UK API manufacture, COVID has identified a number of weaknesses in the whole medicine supply chain. And I think at any point in time, there were about 200 medicines that were in short supply. 80% of those were generic medicines and predominantly sourced in Asia by India or China. And a lot of the products are generic, but in years gone by, they were innovative products that then have crossed that barrier into that generic space. And a product that's very familiar to me is paracetamol. We manufactured 7,000 tons of paracetamol at the Stirling plant in the northeast of England, and that plant was decommissioned some 20 years ago. I guess the drive for low-cost medicine prompted a shift to the Far East. And 15 years ago, and I remember some conversations very clearly, a lot of people thought API, drug substance manufacture in the UK was considered unsustainable due to Asian competition. And I'm delighted to say today that pharmaceutical manufacture in the northeast of England and in the UK is very much alive and kicking. And as part of the supply chain issues, there was a number of government bodies looking at, well, is there a potential to repurpose existing facilities to manufacture some of these generic products and improve supply chain resilience? Yeah, if you actually look at the available capacity in the northeast of England and the UK as a whole, and the amount of capacity that's been taken out as sites have been closed and plants decommissioned, there is not a lot of available capacity that is available to turn to generic manufacture. So they're just some examples of where, pretty significant plants in Dartford, Holmes Chapel, Huddersfield, Loughborough was the big AZ complex, Sandwich the big Pfizer complex, Ulverston, GSK, Camas, the penicillin plant there, that was once a GSK facility. Avalon is AstraZeneca, the Dudley paracetamol plant that I've already referred to. And Nottingham, Boots were the inventors of ibuprofen, and now ibuprofen is largely sourced out of India and China. So a lot of capacity taken out in the UK, so ability to respond is limited. And then the regulatory, safety, environmental, and probably recently political issues of Asian supply has really prompted a move back to Western suppliers or a search for Western suppliers. Now, there's some products that will never come back. I don't think paracetamol will ever come back to the UK, but certain products, I think, there's a real opportunity to solve supply chain issues by having, again, Western manufacturers, and how can the northeast of England present itself to be a key part of that supply chain. A lot of the current Western manufacturers are very much focused on supplying innovator supply chain solutions. And obviously, if you're working with the innovator space, the margin potential is higher there. So there's probably little incentive for current suppliers to really move into supplying generic products out of the UK. So I guess a key question is, how do we encourage Western manufacturers to manufacture generic products? What would we need to do in the UK to establish a generic manufacturing base to try to solve some of the NHS challenges? So I've talked about limited capacity or limited spare capacity in the UK. So how could we then establish capacity? And to establish capacity on a greenfield or a brownfield site would take time and would be very costly. So is there an opportunity whereby we could leverage existing sites, leverage the skill base, safety and environmental systems that are in place, the various safety and environmental licenses that are in place, establish quality systems, utilities infrastructure, and importantly, the skills and capabilities across the northeast of England. So can a consortium of companies come together to provide what is required to get a product established and approved? And bearing in mind generic products that were approved 20 and 30 years ago, to approve or establish manufacture today, rules and regulations have changed. There may be a lot of process development, critical parameter understanding that has to be completed to get to an approvable position. So a potential proposal here is, how could we build, and I'll call it an NHS plant on an existing site, and that could be to manufacture both drug substance, which is the active ingredient, or drug product, which is the formulated product, and then eventually packed product. And to build a plant on an existing facility that we could dedicate to the NHS, it would be about 100 to 150 million pound investment. And why would a company contemplate putting that plant on their site? Well, the attractiveness would be, could we get a long-term supply agreement? Could we establish a portfolio of products? And rather than providing that product to the NHS on a standard business terms, could there be a modified opportunity and provide that product on a cost plus basis, whereby the margin is not as attractive as an innovator type project, but at least provides some cost containment of having the product manufactured within a Western facility. So we could, within 3 years, establish a supply chain of 25 APIs. We could campaign products to build strategic stocks. We could look to employ novel manufacturing technology with the network of innovators within the Northeast, again, to drive productivity, to drive down cost, to ensure that we provide the NHS with the most competitive position, but accepting that it is a Western manufacturer. So a new NHS plant on an existing site, supported by multi-companies in a collaborative way. So, there are existing sites with current plants that have all the necessary infrastructure, licenses and approvals. So could we build NHS plants on a site with government support and dedicate that to solving supply chain issues for the NHS? And of course, in doing that, you are creating high value add jobs within the northeast of England, and can involve a number of support companies, whether it be engineering, whether it be analytical, to support that. And if you just look at some, and this is just some of the companies that are present within the northeast of England, and if we look at the drug substance, companies such as iForce Research, Onyx Scientific, Arcanova, Sterling, Piramal, Recipharm, they all have capabilities that could support this initiative through development, identification of critical parameters, the necessary analytical development, then through registration and onto manufacture. So I don't think any one company would have the bandwidth to do everything that's required, but a collection of companies could provide what is required to get a product through registration. And then looking at those companies that could support drug product and packaging, again, we have rich talent in the northeast of England that could work in a collaborative way to, get packed product ready to ship to UK destinations. So a possible way forward. So what is that portfolio of in-demand products? We need to make sure this is fully aligned with the needs of NHS and health trusts. We need to align it where there has been a degree of interruption in the supply chain. Those products are likely to be more of the small to medium volume, so not the thousands of tons of paracetamol or ibuprofen, but it could be single to 10 tons of critical products that may have several stages of manufacture, that may then tap into raw material supply options from the chemical conurbation that we also have within the northeast of England. So how can we leverage that as well? Products that fit with combined capability within Northeast Pharma, and how can we then leverage new technologies being developed at the likes of CPI and tap into universities where there's, for example, Northumbria University with the biocatalysis that's becoming very well used within pharma today. And then once we have that portfolio identified, look at process, technology, supply chain requirements, and then complete a feasibility and how this problem can be satisfied within the Northeast Pharma Consortium. So I guess in summary, this proposal builds on will build, dedicated capacity to manufacture generic products in the most competitive way required by the NHS. It would provide reliable and compliant solution with a degree of flexibility, so you can manufacture a range of products. So this would not be a dedicated facility for single products. It would be a flexible facility that could manufacture a portfolio of products. Not the full 200 that I first talked about, but a subset of this. And this could be a model that could be replicated in other parts of the country as well. It would be good to start this in the northeast of England. It would build on a very strong pharmaceutical heritage that we have in the northeast of England that extends over 60 years. I think it links well to established centres of innovation. It creates growth, and I think it ticks government requirements for solving problems and creating growth within that scientific sector. Its proposal is fully aligned with UK life science and North East England growth strategies. NEPIC and North East Pharma are fully connected on this, and both are receiving grant funding from the North East LEP to enable further development of this proposal, to look to recruit companies within the northeast of England to be involved and support this initiative. So I think with that collective capability, stretching from raw materials to packed products, supported by all the innovation players, I think the Northeast is really well positioned to play a major and leading role in stabilising sort of medicine supply chains for the NHS. I think that then concludes my presentation. So I'll stop sharing.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you very much for that very interesting presentation. Obviously, a very ambitious project you got there, but very exciting as well. And as Kevin said, NEPIC's involved, and we want to be very supportive of this. This could be very good economically for the Northeast, in the same way as a number of the other presentations we've had this morning. So I'm sure we'll hear a lot more from Northeast Pharma and from Kevin in the future. But if there are any questions for Kevin now, yeah, here we go. From Barry Rhodes, he says, "Hi Kevin, what are the timelines for completion of the feasibility study and business case creation, and what comes after that?"
Okay, so we've estimated about 6 months to the feasibility. Sorry, yeah, I was getting a bit of feedback there. So about 6 months to do the feasibility. We have seed funding in place now to initiate that, and there'll be the first refinement of that, then a second refinement of that.
Okay, I think that's all your questions. You got off lightly today, Kevin.
Any questions or any information required, then please don't hesitate to get in touch.
Thank you. And if anyone does want any help in getting in touch with Northeast Pharma, then NEPIC can facilitate that. So thanks again to Kevin for that really interesting presentation, exciting project that we have in the Northeast. And I think our next presentation is from Womble Bondiggerson, which starts at 1 p.m. So please please join us then. Thanks again, Kevin.
Thanks a lot. Take care, everybody.